Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And I'm losing it tonight. So please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. Without further ado, let me just bring everybody on because people are here. So let's get Marcus in here. Marcus, how you doing? Please take it
How
over.
you doing, JD?
Yep.
Hey, everybody. This is Marcus McNeal, editor-in-chief of Odyssey Comics. Joined today is your co-host. And I wasn't able to join in last week. JD was very forgiving about it. He said, hey, come out this week. Make sure you make up for last week's discussion. And then we're going to get it going. So, yeah, I'm happy to be back. Good to see you, JD.
All right, cool. And the other man?
Hello. I'm sure you guys are probably sick of seeing me by now, but I'm Rob Multari. I'm the creator and writer of Nightwolf, self-published through Lone Wolf Comics, and I am the co-host.
There you go. And our only guest.
Can I be like a Coco guest or something like that?
There you go. You can be the Coco guest. Sure, why not?
Coco.
Yeah, we can all ask questions.
Yeah, my name's Steve Bynoe. I am the co-writer and co-creator of Atrium, and also the co-owner of Comics Asylum. So a pleasure to be here. Nice to meet everyone, and looking forward to it.
All right, cool. All right, so gentlemen, let's get right down to it. I put down the show question, right, which is something that we all see a lot of, right? I know I'm probably guilty. I'm guilty of this particular act, right? I don't want to call it a sin because it's not a sin. Are there too many serial Kickstarter creators running campaigns? And I should have put currently on Kickstarter. So let's start with the guest, Steve. What are your thoughts? And what I mean, if you need any clarification on that, just let me know. Because what I mean by that is people who consistently run campaigns over and over and over.
Well, how many is serial, and do you consider that the single, do you mean a single series, or are you talking about multiple series like Bad Bug does?
I will. You know what? I'll let you define that for yourself.
Oh, fair enough.
You know what? That's an interesting question. It's a great question, and we're in our, I guess, third campaign, and we're ending our miniseries, and we've actually decided that I guess it'll be like a year that we've run the campaign for issues 1 to 5 over 3 campaigns, and then we're going to kind of disappear for a little bit. And the reason for that is, get rid of a little bit of inventory, but also have the backers out there kind of miss us a little bit, because you're kind of like bombarding people all the time, because there's so much noise out there, and you want to kind of have that balance between getting your stuff out there and then also not pissing anybody off. And the way that it's crazy, because it's been a steep learning curve for us, but it's amazing how many projects are out there. And so when you have creators such as myself and you guys as well too, who may not have the highest of profiles, and then you're also in the same mix with people who've been doing Kickstarters for years, and then you're also in the mix with like big companies, it's kind of hard. It's kind of difficult. So I can imagine that for people who aren't in it but are trying to figure out something to back, it's a bit of sensory overload. So I think a little bit of a break is probably good for everybody once in a while.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I can't speak for Marcus or Rob, but I can speak for myself. I have no profile. Rob, what are your thoughts?
So from what I consider to be serial is that actual ongoing books. So like, for example, Nightwolf, obviously, I'm on issue 9 right now. White Ash would be one. Tart, Marcus has got number 5 coming up. Or no, you have something. What, you have 2 coming for something, right?
2 coming up,
yeah. So like
in the near future,
yeah, but I mean, like we're constantly putting out like similar titles. Like for me, I have like Nightwolf, and I have Snowpaw, and then I have my kids' stuff, with the plushies in the book, and then I have I did a trade recently, but I have each of my backers kind of do it differently. So I think that like the way I do things is I try to space it out quarterly. And I think that gives them enough time. Plus, some are only there for Nightwolf, some are only there for Snowpaw, some are there for both. None of them, who knows? There's like a very small crossover for the kids stuff and the trades. My floppies are usually my highest back things, whereas my trades are not so much, but they're different audiences or sometimes people who just want everything, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of that. Plus, there's a lot of people who are out there who have multiple projects going on under their banner, right? So that's less serializing but more diversifying. I think that there's a lot. I don't think there's a lot of necessarily serialized books out there. The ones that are ongoing, that are true to form, that people are keep coming back for, they're hanging in there strong, right? I think there are a lot of projects in general, whether they be mini series, a one-off, or testing new series before they come back to an issue 2. So I think a lot of the newer ones are struggling because of that, because there's so much like influx as far as like projects out there. But I don't personally think serialized campaigns are an abundant amount. Tom might be another one too. He serialized Critter, and then he moves on to, but I don't think, again, he's not in a large batch of people who have like high numbers of books. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this for me is kind of like a 3-pronged thing, because I think there is a couple different ways to look at it. You can look at it in terms of your capacity as a creator, your capacity as a publisher and someone who is trying to feed a market, and then just like the overall capacity of Kickstarter too. I know there's a lot of people out there who, there's certain publishers, they will have like 3 campaigns going pretty much all time. Like every time that I'm browsing Kickstarter, they're always there. And then there's some people who have to fill a need, and that's actually something that I think about quite a bit, because I've been I came in with crazy plans this year doing my Kickstarters. We have still put a lot of Kickstarters out, and I think got at bare minimum 3, 4 more coming before the year is out. So I also have to be cognizant of my energy and how much time I'm spending into it. But also have people that are like, hey, where's Nobody's Princess #4 coming out? When's UV's #2 coming out? They're looking for some of our follow-ups. So really, if you're putting out content and comics at a rate that all those things are satisfied, you're not overworking yourself. Your readers and your backers are getting what they're looking for from you in a timely fashion, and the market is there. Your campaigns are getting funded. Everything's all good in the Wonderland. It's when one of those things drop off is when you have to start looking internally, start reassessing some things. And I know that was the case for me too. It's like, I had a brutal start to the year. Still really, really busy. Still trying to get caught up on a couple of fulfillments and knock those out. I know I can't reach that schedule that I really wanted to hit this year, and that's got to be okay. I'm not answering to a board of investors or anything if they don't see the year-over-year performance or something like that. So really going at a pace that's comfortable for me, also comfortable for my creative teams, and make sure I'm not bearing down on them and being a bad publisher in that regard. Then everything will kind of sort itself out. So we'll see here pretty soon if there's anything to be lost or gained, depending on where the saturation point is with the Kickstarter market as we're going into the latter half of this year. But for the time being, I do sort of echo what Rob is saying. If you are a creator that's consistently putting things out, you're going to have a much easier time than new creators. I think that's the tough part. It's like, people have been saying crowdfunding is getting tough, Kickstarter is getting tough. When really it's just we have more stuff going on than ever. So in the past, you kind of be able to throw something up on Kickstarter and maybe not even do that great of a job promoting it, but the base level support and people coming into Kickstarter was going to bump that up. Now, I think that's less significant. You're not seeing quite that much of people just browsing and then jumping onto Kickstarter because there's too much out there. You got to scrolling page after page of campaign to find something that interests you. Now it's more about maintaining the audience and growing the audience that you already
have. All right, cool. I asked the question because I was on a show with another individual, cool, really cool dude, who runs 3 campaigns a month, and I was like, damn. Like, right? I was like, I run a campaign probably every 6 weeks. Sometimes I'm running dual campaigns. Sometimes I'm running a campaign, and then I have my wife Daphne running a campaign that I'm involved in, right? So, there's a lot going on there. And I think I've run 6 campaigns so far, and I probably got another 3 or 4 to go this year. And I mean, I think it's like Marcus said, if you can sustain it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Because that's probably the point where you're just like, oh, I'm starting to like lose it, because I think the last 3 weeks, all I've done is put together campaigns, right? And at one point I was just like, you know what? For the next 2 days, I'm gonna write, and that's all I'm gonna do. And I was just like, I'm just gonna write, right? And that's what I did. And I feel so much better for it. It's just like, oh, I feel so good just to get that off my chest. But I think that's the point where it's just like, maybe as creators, we need to like balance that out, right? Like, that work-life balance where it's just like, do we create the work, or do we create the work that sells the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's always the thing, it's like we have to balance that, I've been having a lot of conversations with Daphne, and it's just like, a lot of us been at this for 4 years, 5 years, and I'm talking about Kickstarter specifically, right? And to be honest with you, I've been on this show. I've been doing this show for 4 years. I haven't seen significant gains in my backing or whatever, right? I feel there's significant goodwill, right? I feel a lot of creators have goodwill towards me, which is great, and which is what I want. I want everybody to do well. And I didn't start this channel to be like, oh yeah, no, that's not why I do this. I do this because it's fun, and I want to reach out and talk to other creators. But I think, it's funny. It's like, how do we get to Polito status? You kind of don't. Right? And it's just like, what do you have to do to get there? Well, you'd have to start it in 92. Right? And you would have to have, had sold tens of thousands of books per month for several years, which is what he did. Mm-hmm. Nobody can take that away from him. He did that. He did that for years. He's probably sold millions of books at this point, well before Kickstarter, right? So the rest of us are just playing catch up, right? The same thing goes with like Sam Mendoza, right? Zombie Tramp.
Dan,
yeah. Right? He did Action Lab. He was with them for a number of years and sold, again, tens of thousands of copies, had issues with them.
Zombie Tramp's like what, in the 60s, right? 60s, 70s issues range?
I have no idea. I know he did a lot of them.
He's up there. Like he was well known before Kickstarter. So that's what
Yeah, and I mean, we got Matt Wagner along with Kelly Jones up there killing it. And I'm super happy to see that, because those are 2 guys that deserve it, if anybody deserves it, from that pool. So yeah, man, it's one of those things where it's just like I sit back, I'm like, am I doing enough? Am I doing more? Should I do more? Right? And I'm like,
with what time there, JD? With what time can you do more?
I don't know, but it's like I told my buddy over the weekend. I'm like, I said, dude, I have no time, but I'll find a way. Right? And that's what it is. I mean, right now I just finished a campaign. I guess it was last weekend. Like, I can't even keep track of them. Like, last weekend I just finished one. I finished one 2 weeks before that. I'm waiting for some metal comics to come in, covers to come in, hopefully tomorrow. I'll be able to ship that campaign out. Then the one that just finished, I'm ordering those books tomorrow, and I'll hopefully get those by the end of the week, or at least by the beginning of next week, and I'll ship those out, and then hopefully in another week or so, I'll start another campaign, right? So, yeah, the cycle never ends. Marcus, when is your next one coming up?
Next one is coming up. We'll probably have one coming up either Tuesday or Wednesday, possibly even Thursday, depending on how things go, how I feel about it. And then we're gonna have another one coming around Halloween. And then we're gonna have another one coming probably mid-November, then probably one more then actually another one coming in November as well, probably a little bit earlier in November, and then another one coming probably in December. So yeah, it's going to be pretty much consistently putting out campaigns over the next pretty much every 3 weeks. There's going to be a campaign coming from me.
Right. So there you go. Is backer fatigue,
which is the biggest like crunch I've ever been in before. Like I would definitely prefer like not to do that, but I also have, I have Odyssey, the main line, and then we have Imprint with Paradox now too. So now I'm managing effectively 2 different lines that I'm trying to get content out for it. So that's probably going to be how things are for the rest of my life for me.
Well, hopefully for the next 6 months, then you can like suss it out, But Daphne wrote, is backer fatigue a real thing, or is it something we're just imagining and projecting onto our audiences? Right?
I think it's partial. So like I've actually polled my audience and asked, should I do more? Should I do less? Like that, those kinds of questions. And it's a mixed bag. I think I have people who are like, oh, you should only do it so often or twice a year or once a year. And then there's other people who are like, you need to do it more. I need more. Right. So I think it depends on the person's personal situation, especially right now with the economy being as it is, not everybody has the same income. Not everybody has, some people have that disposable income, like they're comic collectors. They don't have a family. They're just going to do what they want. Or you got people who are like, I have a family. I'm going to back digitally because I can, that's what I can do. So it depends on like, what people's individual situations are, when it comes to like backer fatigue.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've had backers. I don't know if Steve, you've encountered this, or Mark, if you've encountered this, or Rob. I've had backers back a campaign 9 months ago, and then not back since. And I've done like 4 or 5 since then. And then 6 campaigns later, they're getting back to me. They're like, "Oh, okay, I'm backing now. What did I miss?"
Yeah, what can I catch up on?
Right. What did I miss? And they're like, okay,
that's just it. And that's why I have backer kit after the campaign. I'm like, don't worry about getting the ones you missed now. Just get the current, and then in backer kit you can fill in whatever variants you want.
Right. So
yeah, I think you guys are all hitting on some really great points, and also too, like our backers are busy, just as busy as we are, but in different ways.
Right.
And we are
a lot of them creators themselves too. So
yeah, and it's not like we're an afterthought, but we're not necessarily a priority unless it's like a family member that you're badgering or something like that.
Yeah, they might not even read the books yet.
Absolutely, and that's definitely a reality. And so, when you mention people like Polito, they've got such a large runway that they've been on ahead of us. And have been able to build up not only just a fan base, but also like a huge readership. And we're basically reintroducing ourselves to new people all with every new campaign, unless you've been doing this for years. And when you track other campaigns, it doesn't matter who it is, there's a good chance that like their backer numbers will, unless it's a number 1, like the number 1s usually hit. And then when you do a 2 or a 3 of the same property or IP, it kind of like it reduces. Right. And then you don't know, like one idea might hit better than another one. It's no different than if you're, making a movie or running a TV studio. Not every idea is going to have the same level of excitement and engagement. So those are all things that you have to kind of take into consideration and then also fight through because, people, their money's stretched as well as their attention.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I know for me, it's like in regards to backer fatigue, if we've been able to quickly follow up a comic with a second comic, I have never seen anyone complain about that. Usually backers and readers, they're excited to be able to get it in pretty short order and make sure that the content is flowing quickly. Another one that I've seen also a lot too is the fact of like, yeah, people might be missing out on 1 or 2 campaigns and then they'll go back and catch up on stuff. Sometimes we make our whole catalog available like digitally for people to go back. Those are always a good amount because people will repeatedly purchase those at those tiers because they know that anything that we've been working on, they've missed since then. They're going to just be able to get the freshest downloads, whatever the case is going to be, sift through our whole catalog and say, oh, here's the new thing from Odyssey. I'll read that. So a way for them to sort of, it's almost like a subscription service for them. Almost like, they renew every campaign and then they get that new book that comes out too.
Mm. All right, cool. All right, well, I think we beat this one up enough. Marcus, you got a question?
Yes, in regards to all this as we've been talking about, I know innovation has been on the tip of everybody's tongue when it comes to comic books. We've recently seen sales figures come back from companies like ICV3 and seeing that uh, comic books are actually, is despite what we may feel in the independent market sometimes, comic books are still in a little bit of a boom period as the readership has increased over year for the last 3 years and trending just very, very slightly below where it was at the peak during the pandemic years too. And I think a lot of that, of course, is they're drawn from traditional book retail. They're drawn from manga. Uh, these are sort of things that are coming into the market and sort of rejuvenating and bringing young readers, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, in addition to everyone who's also been around for a while. So my question to the panel would be, as creators, how do we innovate to be able to capitalize on that momentum and possibly reach some of these markets that are starting to emerge now and become more clearer picture as time goes on here?
All right, cool. Well, Rob, let's start with you.
How do we innovate? I mean, that's always the question, isn't it? How to continually grow and do something different. I think a big part of it is not just the innovation, but like, consistently having a good product to put out there that people want. So that's definitely a big thing. But trying new things, trying different materials, different cover types. Like a couple years ago, metal covers, like, not just like the foil, but like the metals were a new thing, right? So people then started jumping on board with that. And then lenticulars started to be another thing that people started jumping on that. So it's experimenting with different types of collectability stuff too. I think that people want, that's cool, that's unique. That definitely helps get the ball across. And I think another new innovation, which really isn't new at all, is crossovers, which something indies don't do or haven't done very well very often, but in the Kickstarter thing has been starting to be a thing. And I think that's kind of a new growing thing that people are trying out and working together to come up with projects with their IPs, working together, and much like the big two have done in the past, or with their own characters or what have you. I mean, people love a good crossover, and I think that's, like I said, just trying different things, sometimes even going back to an old thing that we don't do but the big two might do, but we could do better. Again, it's just continually trying different things to see what sticks. If something hits, we then you stick with that until the next thing comes. Each campaign I try to do something different each time, and does it work all the time? No. But once you find that new thing, that does work, I'll ride it out as long as you can.
All right, cool. Steve, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. That's the crossover one is not something that would have been like the top of my list, because I wouldn't even have thought about it. But that's a great idea. It's if you can form those kind of relationships or partnerships with other indie creators, then why not? Because basically you're just pulling together two different fan bases, right? And I guess that's what Marvel and DC were doing back in the day, when you would have like a Spider-Man and Superman crossover or whatever. So that's great. I think, this might be just me being a little bit old-fashioned. I think it starts with the stories and the art. And if the product is great, the audience will eventually find you. Like I had a conversation in a store a few months ago, and it was about Ghost Machine kicking up and ramping up. And the advice that was given was that they got to get 100 issues out to follow the mode of The Walking Dead. And I think that gives you enough time. And it's hard for an indie to say, yeah, I'm going to drop 100 issues. Like, it's not like you're doing Bone. I think that's Get Smith's book, right?
Especially if you're doing like 1-2 a year.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like we'll all be, at Shady Pines, running our Kickstarters, draining the internet at the old age home. But like you need to be out there to build that audience, because by the time you really kind of get it rolling, they need 10 or 15 arcs sometimes to really build it. And that's why Polito and everyone else who's in that league has that kind of a head start. So I think if the stories and the world building are like on point and the art is great, then you've got your audience. It just takes time. It's kind of hard to have like a 50-year-old marriage in the first 3 weeks, right? Before you've even had your honeymoon. And I think it's the same thing with indie comics.
Yeah.
Right. That's
just kind of counterintuitive to the whole backer fatigue situation.
Yeah, it is. It is, but it's, a lot of things are counterintuitive and unfortunately.
Well, but right though, but here's like my argument to that like backer fatigue thing. They obviously are going out there and buying. Well, if they collect comics, they're going to their local shop every week and getting the next issue of something from Marvel, right? So that's weekly that they're paying $5 or more, right? So, and that's not shipping or nothing, right? So you figure we're doing it every quarter at maybe, but we'll just say that quarterly as an average, right? We're not doing like every 2 weeks like JD or like, you know what I'm saying? So like, but you see what I'm saying? Like when it comes to,
I totally get it.
Yeah, like so, the $5, and they're not just picking one book up, right? So they're picking multiple books up at $5 a piece every week. Versus one book, say like I put my standard retail out there for $15 on Kickstarter because that covers the digital, that covers the book, and that covers like any of the extra bonus stuff that unlocks. Exactly. Right. So I feel like $15 a book per quarter is still cheaper than them going to a comic retail shop and picking up multiple books.
Yeah. So I not to cut you, but here I think is the key difference. All of our characters aren't legacy characters, or all of our stories aren't legacy characters. So like if you're at a con, you're probably more likely to sell more books that weekend when you're meeting your customers or your backers face to face, or any kind of new clients, because in the end they're buying you. Because we bought Jack, we bought Stan, we followed creators like John Byrne or Walter Simonson, Perez, Ivan Reyes. The list is endless. And then when you tack on Spider-Man to that, where, you might have been watching Spider-Man as a kid and you had the pajamas, right? So far, there's no Atrium pajamas, right? So we don't have that kind of, I'll just speak for myself. We don't have that kind of like built-in audience where it's like they're like jonesing to spend $5 every couple of weeks for 2 or 3 titles with that character.
Right.
We have to build that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my point, though. Like once you build that audience, like the backer fatigue thing for yourself, that again, that's different per creator and how many times they've been doing it. But like for those who've been out there long, like Daphne and JD and myself and you, Marcus, whoever have been out there, built an audience. Like are we really fatiguing our audience, or are we? No. Or you see what I'm saying? Like I think that's kind of like
not your core audience. No way.
Right, exactly. The core audience is going to come back. I think it's the people who are just jumping on. They're like, I'm not sure yet. There's a lot of other things to look at. There's 300 plus backing books right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Right. Because like there are people who will buy Spider-Man or Superman and it might be a terrible run, but they're going to buy it anyway. Right.
I used to be one of those guys. I quit about 15 years ago.
One more day did it to you, huh?
Oh man, I was like, I'm done. Matter of fact, I thought I quit cold turkey until I got into this indie business, and then now I'm like, I'm collecting again.
Just comes from a different source now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it is for me. Is it's just simply shifted from one market to another.
Yeah. And then my wife says, "Why are you still backing books?"
You say, "Oh, honey, I bought back this months ago." Don't worry.
Yeah. She gets an email every time. She's following me. She gets an email every time I back a book.
You got the constant reminder. It's a tax write-off. Don't worry about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. She's like,
I mean, as far as like innovation, as far as what we can do as creators. Man, I mean, there's so many platforms because look, I'm stuck. A lot of us, I don't know how many of you guys are, but I know a lot of us are stuck on Facebook, which is considered the old person platform, right?
Books, really,
right? But I mean, Twitter's still out there. You got Blue Sky, you have Reddit, and a few other spots. You got some people who are advertising on TikTok. And everybody's having various degrees of success, right? I mean, everybody, so it's like, pick your poison. But the problem really is just how much time can you really invest in doing that? You know, because as independent publishers, our biggest problem is reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even guys, the two guys, Wagner, God, I keep forgetting names. Atomic Robo. I don't know if you guys know the title,
Mhm.
right? It originally came out through Red 5. Really good book, a lot of fun, a lot of issues, a lot of trade. I mean, I must have 15 trades from these guys, from them. They eventually moved over to IDW, right? And now they're on Kickstarter. Now they don't have, I guess, the as deep of a fan base as, let's say, someone like Polito or was it Espinoza or some of the others, but they're making anywhere, I think, as high as 35K.
I mean,
they do well. Listen, I would love to, if I was gonna fail 35K, I could fail at 35.
Right. Like I've been trying to reach like 25. Has always been like that. I had almost got it. One of my highest back campaigns, I was like right there.
Right. And listen, it's a great book. It's a fun book. Whenever they put one out, I always back it. But it's like, they, through those publishing ventures, they were able to get that reach into that market, right? And it's how do we get into that? I've been toying with the idea of getting back into the direct market to try to get that reach, right? Can I get a deeper reach if I went back into that market? I haven't been in that market in a long time. I've heard varying stories from varying people. I know some people are one company, they say is doing okay and they've seen some bump up, but they consider it insignificant. Tate had said something here interesting. He was like, great is subjective though. Even if your work is good, it may take a while to build an audience that agrees with you that your work is good. And this is true, right? Because it is subjective, right? Rob loves werewolves, somebody might like fish people. I don't know. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so it just depends what you're into, right? So, but Rob, he's found enough werewolf people that's digging it and is fueling his fire, right? So, I need to find more magical mice people, right? And that's the thing.
Lovers. You need to find a group, secret and M lovers.
There you go. And I mean, and it's reaching that, right? Getting that audience, reaching out for that audience and trying to get them and pulling them in and bringing them with you. And I think that's what these guys from Atomic Robo's done. That's obviously what Polito's done and all these other guys. And I think that's the part. Now, as far as like, the innovation, the reach those, dude, I don't know a damn thing.
that was a very long-winded. I don't even know.
I don't know. But all the same, a wise man knows that he knows not. So
I'll try it. Yeah.
Hey, well, think about it, right? Like Marvel and DC are rebooting every 5 minutes, so I don't think they have the answers either.
No,
exactly.
Yeah, they lost innovation when the moment they started.
Right.
Right. And I think Tate is right.
Tate's very on the money with audience. I think that's something we have to think about a lot. Because I've been thinking and experimenting with innovation in a couple different ways. First is in the actual formats and how you're putting the comics out, how you're releasing them, what style they're in, and then when it comes to the marketing aspect too. So as we're doing things, and now we got Paradox going, our second book is about to hit soon. But the first one with Iberian, I kind of used that as a little bit of a litmus test because I started noticing this interesting trend, both in my purchase habits and other people I was going to, is that even though economically things are all over the place in the world, a lot of people are struggling, there's not as many dollars out there available for creators as there used to be. I was having a lot more success selling comics in a larger format, sort of a more expensive format at a higher price tier than I was pumping out $5 floppy comics. I thought that was really interesting, but I also think about my habits, and I've largely moved away from purchasing floppies too. And if I pick things up, I pick them up in trade, or I pick them up in hardcovers, whatever the case may be too, because they feel more special to me. I like physical books. You know, I do digital. I have my Global Comics membership. I read a lot on there, but nothing beats having like that really nice bound book for me. So when we came to do Iberian, I was like, hey, let me try something out, because we have, between the two chapters, we have 124 pages. They're going to be in 2 books, but I'm going to put them together in a hardcover. I'm going to make those available for backers to back that hardcover. That hardcover backing tier probably accounted for a good 55, 60% of the revenue that we got from that campaign. So people were more enthusiastic to drop $40, $50, $60, $100 on a hardcover than people were even backing the digital tiers, like the regular physical tiers and things like that too. So I think in our respect, and we're going to be seeing it coming up with another campaign for us soon, where we're moving away from this sort of floppy thing. We're doing not quite the full graphic novels, not like 100, pages or anything like that. About 48, 60 pages are going to be. They're going to be coming in hardcovers. We're going to kind of see like how people respond to those things, because we're now dealing with an audience that have grown up. They've been buying. They weren't buying comics in stores like we were when we were kids. They're buying Captain Underpants in Target and Walmart. They're buying Dogman and things like that. So this format is something that's a little bit more familiar to them. And I think for a lot of buyers, they seem more game to sort of drop the money on things that feel familiar to them than start.
I think that age is used to like Netflix and getting like binging, right? So they're used to getting like larger content.
Rob, hold on a second. Hold your thought. Madeleine, how you doing?
Hi, I am hi Rob. Hi Steve. I don't know Marcus. Madeline. Hi Marcus. My apologies. We had puppy emergency, so
I hope we're here. All right.
Yeah,
puppies. It's all good, but yeah, okay. I'm here.
All right, cool. So Madeleine, just real quick, you just introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Madeleine Holly-Rosing, the writer-creator of the Steampunk Supernatural series, Boston Metaphysical Society, which is currently on Kickstarter for our Volume 2 hardback.
All right, cool.
I do always see you at the cons, Madeleine. Every time I try to get over to the booth, I feel like something drags me
away. I'm sorry. So Rob, do you want to finish your thought?
Yeah. What was it?
I'm sorry, Rob.
Yeah. So like you were saying though, like they grew up with the Captain Underpants in the book form, but they also grew up with streaming. So like they're used to getting large chunks of story in one big sitting, right? Or having it at least relatively at the tip of their fingers at any time. Whereas like serialization of issues, comes out once a month, for DC and Marvel, it's once a month, right? Or for us, it's every maybe year, twice a year, 4 times a year. So yeah, and that does make our job a lot harder unless you do collect into trades. And to kind of like go to Marcus's point, at cons too, like I sell a ton of these, as compared to even like some of my singles anymore. Like they'll drop like the $50 for these hardcovers, as opposed to like a $5, or if you get like, the same 20 books or 4 books for $20, So yeah, I mean, it's they're different audiences though.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's what I noticed. They're different people who are both backing and then also buying those in person too. And it's difficult because as creators, like even if we understand that, we know the economies of making a book at that size far different than making a single issue. I know I can make a single issue, invest in that, and I'm going to see that return maybe immediately as soon as I put it on Kickstarter, if not very soon after that, knowing the audience and what we typically do. That's not quite the case for larger format books. So it is risky, and you have to be kind of careful about how you approach it from that aspect too. And then when it comes to marketing, I think we all beat our head against the wall when it comes to that. And we try everything in the book. We try videos. We try doing this. We interact with each other a lot too. And I just think really it's more difficult and also more simple at the same time. Because I think the struggle for us is that we really we don't move laterally as much as we want to. We're always looking for sort of like the bigger shit to hook our dinghy to sort of drag us in a manner of speaking. But we don't go across the aisle at the same level quite all that often. And it may be tough because it's like, hey, you know, I may talk to so-and-so, but they only get 125 backers on this, and maybe the reach isn't going to be all that great if I get a cosign from another person. But hell, get 6 of those 125 backer level creators together to consistently, you know, be getting out there about things and get it together. And it's like, hell, maybe it may only be an increase of 15% here and there, but what would 15% added bonus to a lot of us with our campaigns and our sales and things like that. So there's a way to go about it. I just think that we have to be not quite as risk averse. We have to be okay with failing a little bit more. And I know that's something that a lot of people are seriously uncomfortable doing in the comic scene. It's like when you have a Kickstarter that doesn't reach its goal, it's like it's one of the biggest kicks in the balls that you can experience as a creator. But it's always a learning process, and something good can typically come from that. Mm-hmm. You go back to the table and reassess what you need to do. And I think people got to be okay. I always say with my day job, be uncomfortable or be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not always a terrible place to be if you can start getting some good data and getting some good experiences coming back from it. That gives you sort of weapons and a knowledge base to be able to do things a little bit differently in the future.
Yeah, I know this past year I've been doing cons I wouldn't normally do because they were just happened to be in Southern California this year. They move around, like Stoker Con, which is the Horror Writers of America. I was there, the ALA, the American Library Association. And those are things I look at as long time possible payoffs in going outside of the normal con route, you know, a Comic-Con, and trying to work in something that's a little more cross-genre. And it also makes you unique when you show up, because you may be the only person there selling comics. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it does take time and it does take money. I mean, ALA is not cheap, and I'm not sure. It might be years before I see those leads pay off. But it's great to get in front of a bunch of librarians. That's pretty much a win-win if you can do that. I think it's in Philadelphia next year. So if you're on the East Coast, you might look into that.
6-hour drive. That's where it's doable for me.
Yeah. It was in San Diego this year for me. So that's like a 2.5-hour drive. That's a no-brainer. But yeah, I mean, to me, to expand your marketing, look at cons, even if they're small. I don't know if you guys know Alan Carter. He doesn't do Kickstarters. He does Damn Tourists, but he does a lot of local cons and like art festivals in the evening, and he does pretty well at those. And so, you know, you never know where you never know who's going to come to your table in kind of these weird little offset things. And it may be a bust. You may not make table, but you may make friends, and that could pay off better in the long run.
I think that's the thing for our area too, being here in SoCal. Like, our cons aren't always the greatest, but we have just a litany of smaller other conventions and gatherings and sort of things that you can always get into. Of course, vibrant art scenes, a lot of communities out here too. So there's typically always a place for you to go, no matter sort of where you are. And that's the benefit of being in a large market. And then I think on top of that too, people got to think about it in different ways. I know like a big W for us was, Global Comics. They rolled out that DC Comics is, joining the platform this week, which is huge news. And then for us, just, out of grace of being tangentially attached to superhero comics, we got Ubi's out, Global Comics out there, DC Comics, they're promoting their rollout. And then you have Ubi's pictured right next to Justice League, that's huge. And of course, our readership skyrockets like as soon as that goes on, because everybody wants to see that. That's having partners and positions and platforms like that you go into are huge. Like even though I hate dealing with Amazon mainly because I do it for my day job, I'm starting to get the books out there. You can go there, get Twilight Custard, you can get on Kindle now. And it is not really about always generating the revenue or having that, but it's about being in a place that's visible and easily accessible for people to find your work. And then that leads to can have things of it. So sometimes it may seem tough from our side because we want to see returns all the time. Of course, we're operating on razor thin margins or negative margins or no margins, or we're just throwing money and hope that like everything sort of sorts itself out. So it can be kind of a zero-sum game for us at points in times because our livelihoods and depend on being able to have that stuff coming back to us. But sometimes you got to do things and just take whiffs on stuff here and there, not necessarily to see immediate returns, but just to add one more notch on your belt in terms of the things you can do from a marketing perspective. Make that go.
All right, cool. Well, that's all. That's great. But look, I'm gonna pull up Atrium. It's that time of year. So, Steve, do you want to walk us through this?
Sure. So Atrium is a story about two paramedics, Naomi and Darnell, who are tasked with delivering a donor heart to a mysterious but very important patient. En route, they and their security detail are attacked by a group of deadly assassins who happen to be vampires.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's a 5-issue miniseries. We are kickstarting issues 4 and 5. Right now, we did the first one in November of 2023. And then this spring, we packaged 2 and 3 together to save people who are backing us on shipping. And now we're wrapping up the miniseries with issues 4 and 5.
Nice.
And I think we've got, judging by what I just saw there, we've got less than 70 hours left. I think it wrapped up on Tuesday.
And it looks like you've hit goals, so that's good.
Yeah, we hit our goal. Our backers have been amazing. Our first 2 campaigns were extremely successful as well too. So everything was over asking for all 3 campaigns, and we're really pleased with how everything's been turning out. The art's great. Our artist is Lucas Falapi out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, and then we have Nikos Koutsis and Mike Torres who do the colors for Savage Dragon. They're doing the colors for us, and it's co-written by myself and Peter Van Horn. We're located here in Toronto, and Nikos and Mike are out of Greece. Our letterer, Greg, is fantastic. He's out of Toronto as well, too. And I would be remiss to not mention the design master behind it all, Vaughn Joseph. He came up with the logo as well as puts the book together and has all of the design little cues for when we go to printing.
Nice. Yeah. So, okay. So 5-issue limited series. Do you guys have a room for more adventures in this world, or are you looking to continue this, or is this it for this?
No. This basically is just an introduction to the world. Mm-hmm. This story, though, you can read this story and you're not left hanging, but there's way more to the world that we have. And if the demand is there, if the interest is there, we have a whole world to explore after issue 5, and we would continue it in the Atrium series. If you're reading, some people have started and already have said, I can't believe you've done this. And what I mean by that is don't fall in love with any characters because anything can happen. Actually, Lucas was the first one. He got, I think, issue 2, and he was like, man, what have you done? I like drawing that guy. So I was like, sorry. Maybe we'll do a flashback issue or something at some point. But the feedback we've gotten from the conventions have been great. We've been to some big conventions. We've done in-store signings here in Toronto, and we've been to Buffalo for some conventions. So we've traveled all over the place. And I guess the thing that we get the most is, wow, that's a great premise. Is it a film? And that would be, a lovely end goal. But it does have a cinematic feel to it. It's got suspense, action. With vampires, you're going to get some, lots of blood. And we think that from 1 to 5, it's a pretty action-packed thrill ride for everyone who's going to read it.
Oh, very nice. So you said so you got 67 hours. You've already funded, so you're doing well. But, there's always a little room there.
Yeah. The more backers we get, then we can unlock some stretch goals and go from there. We're planning on doing late pledges as well too. So there'll be time for people to jump on, even after time runs out.
All right, cool. Well, you're on your way. Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. I mean, it looks great. I mean, it looks like a really, really good book.
Yeah, we've been lucky. Our variant covers, we have some variant covers for the previous issues, and they all came out really well. And the one that you can see, I guess, on the far right, I guess that's on the far right of the screen with the box, that's done by Marco Rudy. That's our variant for issue 5 to wrap up the series. And Marco, talented artist, and he has worked for Marvel and DC in the past.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've been really lucky with the talent that we've been able to get on to contribute to the program.
That's a really, really nice piece. Yeah, looks great. Good book.
Thank
you. So people, go buy it. All right. So let's see. I'm sorry. I still need a producer. Jay always gets on my case. So it's like, need a producer. All right. So Madeleine, do you want me to play this video?
If you want, sure. You get to see me with hair and makeup.
Hi, my name is Madeleine Holly-Rosing, and I'm the writer-creator of the steampunk supernatural series, Boston Metaphysical Society. Welcome to our Kickstarter to print our first ever Volume 2 Special Edition hardback. If you're not familiar with the series, it's about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battle supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. With a fabulous cover by Claudia Annunziello, this limited edition of Volume 2 comes as a hardback and a softback, and not only includes our 4 standalone sequels, The Scourge of the Mechanical Men, The Spirit of Rebellion, Ghosts and Demons, and The Book of Demons, with art by Gwen Tavares, but additional art by Roberta Ingranata, Ron Leary, and more. Plus, a brand new 10-page bonus story with art by Claudia Balboni. In these sequels, not only do we travel to Philadelphia for a bit, but you'll be introduced to the character of Alma Bryant, an amateur inventor and scientist who will eventually become part of the Boston Metaphysical team. And there's more. We're doing a limited run of Art Deco-style owl metal bookmarks designed by Alejandro Lee. And yes, the Volume 1 Special Edition will be available in hardback and softback as well. The best part is that the volume is in pre-press and should be ready to go to the printer by the end of the campaign. So please, be sure to check out all of our reward tiers and pledge today. Thank you in advance for your support.
Cool. Very nice.
You can tell I do this a lot.
You've done one or two.
One or two. Yeah, we added more add-ons of colors for the metal bookmarks, so you can get a brass and a black stainless steel or a copper, or both, all of them if you want.
Nice.
Everyone seems to really love those. And Gwen, these are all can't even talk now. Our previous published sequels. The difference between this and our previous Volume 2 is one, it's in a beautiful hardback you can get if you want. And we have a brand new story and pinup art that probably people have never seen before. Unless you've been with me since the very beginning.
Nice.
But yeah, those are the covers. Gwen did a marvelous job. And we have the first 3 pages of Scourge of the Mechanical Men for people to look at. And of course, you can get digital versions, softback or hardback, obviously. And I was trying to get a plushie ready of that owl for this campaign, and it just didn't work out. So I was bummed about that.
Getting plushies is harder than you think.
It is. I'm working with the skeleton crew that you recommended. Yeah, she's been great. She's been absolutely great. Yeah,
they do a great job, and they're nice in between too. So they deal with all of the stuff, and they just ask you the questions, and then they go and deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in addition, you can get the first 2 issues of Pike's Peak, which is our new series. You can get a CD, flash drive, or download of our audio drama. So there are so many things to choose from, plus the prequel novel and anthology and a few the upper tiers. I think the everything tier includes a couple of digital short stories that, unless you can find the obscure anthology they are originally in, probably be the only place you can find them.
Nice. So you got a retailer level. Nice.
Yes.
More hardcovers.
Many things. And we made our 4th stretch goal. So everyone who has pledged a reward right now will get 12 additional digital comics. And the hardback will now come with a hunter green satin bookmark ribbon.
Oh, nice.
And will be foil embossed with 2 colors.
Nice.
So we've got 11 days to go. We've got one more stretch goal. We'll probably make it. So everyone will get lots of goodies. Lots and lots of goodies.
Mm-hmm.
I love giving people goodies.
No, I mean, listen, I've read this series. It's awesome. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm at with it.
I know. I know. As things get bigger and bigger, it's like, where am I now? Yeah.
Yeah, because what's funny is, all right, so I have this one.
Yeah, that's volume 1 is the original 6-issue miniseries.
Right.
And volume 2 contains our 4 previously published sequels plus the bonus story and bonus artwork.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. So I think I don't have those. I think. So
yeah, those are the covers of them. If you got them individually, I don't know. Those are the 4 covers.
Now I tend to get trades. So was it a trade?
Okay.
They're a little thicker than they're not single issues. I mean, they're like probably.
Yeah, they're actually one shots, and each of them they run anywhere from. Those are all like 32 to 40 pages.
Right.
Yeah, they're nice size books.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
I mean that's why volume 2 is actually turns it's going to be 176 pages, interior pages. Mm-hmm. So it's a big book.
Nice. All right, cool.
And we're actually done with pre-press.
Oh, which is always good.
Oh yeah,
I'm so excited. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, Madeline, you're always knocking it out the park. So I mean, these are great books.
It's always the first thing I notice too whenever I see this book is just and anything around it, like the marketing and the visuals everything's always top notch.
Oh yeah.
It's a gorgeous book.
I'm of the opinion that if it has my name on it, it has to look good.
There you go. That's it.
Yep. Well, you're at 20K with 11 days to go, and you got over 400 backers. So you're right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Madeline, do you use a service or do you pack these yourself?
Generally, I pack them myself. Well, when I did Pikes Peak, I hired a couple people to come over, and we set up tables outside. I provided lunch. I paid them, and in 5 hours, we got over 300 Geminis done.
Oh wow!
Nice. Okay.
And it had a very pleasant afternoon. We actually had fun. We got it done. Volume 1, unfortunately, because it was so hot out and we had issues with the dogs, I had to do it myself. So I did like 400 packages in 3.5 days.
Gosh.
That's still impressive.
Yeah. Well, I paid for that. It took me a few days to recover from that.
I was about to say that's like 5 times faster than I am.
Yeah, full-time job and family. I'm staying up late and putting stuff together. I'm like, I hope I don't mess this up.
Fulfillment is like the beast that no one tells you about before you start these things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's everybody thinks like, man, I'd love to make 10, 12, 15K on the campaign, but then there's the fulfillment into that.
When you have
I'm still filling out one of our campaigns, and
you have a ton of
rewards. Like 2,500 total books.
Yeah, that's why I try to keep the rewards. I mean, flat, they just go right in.
Yep.
The flash drive does. The I mean, I have boxes for the bigger ones, so you can put them all in. And obviously, I've been doing this for a while, so I kind of I've narrowed it down. I use only Geminis now. They're just they're great. They're great, and I love the fact that what you order over $100 and it's free shipping or something. And for me, that's a no-brainer. It's like, because I'm ordering 4.
Yeah.
Just bring them in.
Crazy how much we spend on shipping and materials,
supplies,
and supplies.
It only gets more expensive.
Yeah.
Take advantage of those discount codes.
I think at some point I have to start putting up Nita's discount code for everybody.
I use that. I forgot it, and I contacted her and I said, "What's that discount code again?" And she sent it right to me. So she's awesome.
Yeah, I think we always got to go across with other people. Like it's helpful for me because I come from like a background in merchandise and everything like that. So I know people professionally go to stuff. Like I get bags and boards like stupid cheap, just like insanely cheap compared to what some people might be paying for them. So I think as indie creators, we probably need to get in touch with each other for those things and start sharing some of those resources. That makes it different. We can start a couple bucks here and there off of fulfillment,
right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can let you know because I've moved away from Uline completely, and so now I don't get anything from Uline anymore, even though they're convenient because they have everything. But for a lot of reasons, I don't like using them, and so I would rather spend my money elsewhere.
I mean, you don't like a quarter of your boxes coming in damaged and.
No, it's other things which we don't have to get in here. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Multari, would you like me to play this video?
I mean, you can. It can do the talking for me.
Do you love stories about anti-heroes and supernatural beings like werewolves, vampires, demons, witches, zombies, and more? Then Nightwolf is the comic book series for you. Nightwolf's unique take on theology and mythology encompasses elements of horror, magic, fantasy in a modern setting. Hi, I'm Robert A. Multari, the creator and writer of Nightwolf, as well as the founder of Lone Wolf Comics. It's been my dream since I was a kid struggling with attention deficit disorder and dyslexia to be a comic book creator because comics have helped me learn to overcome my disability. Born into an outcast breed of werewolves known as the Moquin, 18-year-old Rodney Marcelli is reluctantly thrown into an ancient war between good and evil in today's world where the line has been blurred. With the help of Snowpaw, the pureblood Moquin, Rodney must learn to master his newly found lycanthropy and mysterious kinetic energy power that only he possesses. Rodney must fight the Dark Covenant in order to avenge his friends and family and to save the girl he loves from the master vampire, Lord Malice. Rodney Marcelli is Nightwolf. In April of 2016, I launched a failed Kickstarter campaign for Nightwolf issues 1 through 3. I played the game on hard, setting a $20,000 goal. However, I did manage to raise over $5,000, but Kickstarter is an all-or-nothing platform. I didn't let that failed launch stop me, so I decided to raise the money on my own by doing freelance web design jobs to pay the artists. After self-publishing Nightwolf issues 1 and 2, I came back to Kickstarter in October 2019. And since then, I have successfully overfunded 14 campaigns for Nightwolf issues 3 through 8, both Nightwolf Volume 1 and 2 trade paperbacks, the first 3 issues of my series Snowpaw, the Nightwolf Werewolf and Voodoo Doll plush toys, and the Wolfpack Pups Halloween Kids board book. And that's all thanks to my amazing backers that I refer to as my Wolfpack. Currently, I have written 12 issues of Nightwolf and have published the first 8 issues in print and digital formats. Now I stand ready to publish Nightwolf issue 9, and that's why I've come back to pay for the printing and the rewards that you will receive for backing this project. I'm extremely grateful for where I am now as a self-publisher and continuing to serialize Nightwolf for you to enjoy. Again, thank you for taking this creative journey with me. I appreciate it so much. So what are you waiting for? Join the Wolfpack today.
Cool. So you're 78% there. You got another 18 days. I think you're in good shape.
Yeah. I think we just crossed that 78 because we were 77 pretty much all day.
All right, cool.
It's so Sunday. Rob. It's going to be slow.
Yeah.
It is.
So
we'll pick up a few later on tonight.
Yeah, I'm not scared.
You're fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's so for me, this is my baby, my first book series that I put out. As I mentioned in the video, I came to Kickstarter in 2016. I failed, but I set it at a very stupid goal, and if I would have done it the right way with going for a single issue at 5, I would have funded. So I knew I had something. Nightwolf has always been something, going to cons and selling it there. It's just been, one of the amazing to see how many werewolf fans out there, want to see, these kinds of stories. And for me to tell it has always been like my dream, and being able to continue doing it is a dream in itself.
Cool. So I mean, okay, so this is issue 9, right?
Yes.
So how
this
many
is the start of volume 3.
Okay.
Technically, I mean, it's all one, like the 12 issues are all a single story arc, but I'm breaking them up into 4 issue volumes for collectability stand, to make it easier and to get those trades out. But yeah, so this is really where the action kind of starts to just go balls to the wall. There's a lot of action in this issue. A lot of things kind of happen, and a few things get revealed on a little bit more about his powers, like how they work and how they there's a situation where they don't work in this for him.
Cool. Now, all right, so there's a 12 issue limited series. Is it going to go beyond this? Are you looking to do more?
Yes. So the ending of 12 actually sets up issue 13, which starts the new story arc.
Cool. Very nice. Now, how far are you ahead in the writing?
I am into 13, so I need to get back into the writing for this, because I've been focusing, like, ever since Snowpaw came into play, I was focusing more on writing that series, because she wasn't even a planned series. That was just something that people, because I have other titles that I wanted to do, and I polled my audience, and I guess I should have realized that, they wanted more werewolf stuff. So, like, plus the fact that she's such a badass character in Nightwolf. So that is actually going to be a true 4. So with Snowpaw, it's going to be 4 issue story arcs, and they're actually going to be officially like volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. So it'll be like volume 1, 1 through 4, volume 2, 1 through 4, more traditionally. That way it gives me time to really plan ahead, because I have so much to play with there. Between like the 200 years between her story and Nightwolf's story, I want to make sure I do it right.
All right, cool. Very nice. Now, you said you try to do them quarterly?
Yes.
Cool.
Which isn't just the 2 titles, but it's also like, between doing like the kids' books and then like if I have a trade or whatever. But yeah, I last year I got 2 issues of Nightwolf out. Carlos and I want to be able to finish these before we're old men, so we're trying to pump out faster and faster.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
Yeah, at this rate, I wouldn't be shocked if he has issue 10 done before Mog has Snowpaw 4 done.
Gotcha. Nice. So, is issue 4 the next one coming out for Snowpaw, or is it issue 3?
Issue 4, yeah. 3's out and out to the backers, and available now on my website and at cons. 4 is in Mog's hands with the script. I think she's trying to finish Kurt's Ruxy Vampire 2 before she gets into Snowpaw 4. But I'm last I talked to her husband, Mel, who's her manager, he was saying she was going to start by now, but I haven't seen anything. I think they were in New York Comic Con, so I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to see anything until probably next month.
Well,
that's realistic.
Yeah. Thankfully, next month is only 11 days away, so.
Well, I mean, probably a month.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. Yeah, this year's gone.
Yeah, this one's just ran by us quick.
Yeah, so Tom and I are doing a crossover. This was actually supposed to be a crossover when he ran Iron Butterfly, but he kind of like fudged the dates. So he was actually done before I went live. So we held on to this until he had another Critterverse and I had another Nightwolf for Snowpaw. Luckily, since Snowpaw's in Nightwolf, that actually works out.
Cool. Nice. Yeah.
And I have another crossover with Jessica Mason Judd's Mary Shelley book.
Cool.
Yes, they get so you can get a die cut sticker featuring Night Wolf.
Was that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cute. Very nice. All right, cool. I mean, Rob, you know, listen, man, you're always killing it as well. So, you know, these things are always great.
There's no rest for the wicked, that's for sure.
No, not at all. Well, listen, man, the book looks great. You know, you like I said, you're killing it. You know, you got another 18 days. You know, you're at 78%. I don't think you have any issues getting to where you need to get. You're going to get there.
Yeah.
You know, so, all right, cool. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Hold on. You were talking about the Wicked, so let's you know, let's pull up that guy's campaigns. Okay. No.
Are you looking for Jessica's campaign?
No. I was just referring.
Okay.
I was referring to Marcus.
Okay.
So Marcus, tell us a little bit about your upcoming campaign.
Yeah, this is the one that we got coming up for Slight Return. So this is along the lines of what I was discussing about a little bit earlier, a little bit something of a different book. Oh crap, we got 10 followers already. I don't even think I've shared the campaign in any leaks. This is like the first time I've been putting it out, but this one is from Rob Pilkington, who worked with us on Critical Mass and is one of the standouts from one of Dark Horse's previous talent searches. He brought this project over to us along with Heather Vaughn, who's worked all over the place. She's done stuff with IDW, doing covers with G.I. Joe, worked on the Stranger Things for card and tabletop gaming fans out there. She did the Buffy the Vampire Slayer edition of Unmatched. So she's coming aboard to do the art and has been doing just, you know, fantastic job, as you can see here. And this follows the story of Theo Von Every, who's a little bit of a rock star that's on the outs, who inherits a creepy old Louisiana mansion and then discovers that really devilish things are afoot as she comes across a cherished guitar that is in the estate that belonged to her late grandfather, and who comes looking to collect that. So we are hoping to have this out and ready to go in time right for spooky season for Halloween. So if people really like books that, like, this one's going to be a little bit larger, I think the final script clocked in at 48 pages. We're going to have soft cover and hardcover editions for everybody. We got some really fantastic variant covers coming in for those too. So this is one we've been pretty excited about. We announced it earlier this year, and now it's getting close.
All right, very nice.
I dig the art on that.
Mm-hmm. Looks great.
Yeah, hold on. And of course, I think this is your other one, right?
Yeah, this one I just updated too. So this one is coming from the Paradox side of the Odyssey family. And this one's for the Dark Star Anthologies #1. This one came as a result. You might want to refresh this page because I just did a cover update. So this one's for our Ash Can. And have to do coming in there. There we go. So this is spinning out from Critical Mass and becoming its own mini-series. This is actually from our lead editor over at Odyssey Comics, Stephen Splain. This one follows the story of Bao Zhang, who is a struggling musician in the future who gets offered what he thinks is the deal of a lifetime from a very nefarious multinational entertainment conglomerate. And he leads down really just a complete different path than he was really setting out to do. So this one's going to take place over about, me and Steve are still going by with it. I like to be 4 issues. I think he wants to be more. And then we'll come to a consensus on it. But this is hand painted by artist Christopher Condolis, and then lettered by legendary letterer Rick Parker. A lot of people know Rick from back in the day. He did Kraven's Last Hunt, a lot of Spider-Man stuff for Marvel, Beavis and Butthead for Marvel. And did American Splendor with Harvey P. Card too. So we're continuing to go out and bring some of the old heads and comics together with some of the new fresh faces and make some cool stuff. So this one is one I'm really excited about too, because it's just been a great story. Plus, you don't really get to see hand painted pages and panels all that much anymore. So we really took this one back old school, and it really feels like something that you would be reading in the 1980s. We did our best to make sure that it didn't feel like a modern comic book. And then on the main cover, we got 3 variants that we'll be rolling up. Main cover right here is by Luca Brico, who we did Iberian with just last month.
All right, cool. Looks great. I mean, listen. So when is this one launching?
This one is probably going to be launching, I want to say Wednesday. I'll give myself some time. If I could have it done a little bit earlier, I'll try to get it out earlier. But this one is also a good one because it's completely complete. I have copies of it sitting around already. So we just be spinning out copies of the new cover, running out some additional rewards and everything like that. But digital wise, we'll be able to send them out immediately. And then physicals will get pretty soon after that too.
All right, cool. All right. And I'm just going to pull up a couple of friends of the show, their campaigns. I'm just going to show them really quick. This is one of them. Tom was here for half a second. He was having internet issues. He'll be back next weekend. This is his campaign. He has another 20 days ago. He's at 8,100. He's fine, but his stuff is always fun, his critter stuff. So if you want to go check it out, it's always a lot of fun, his book. So you can go check. Oh, look, there's Snowpaw and Iron Butterfly again.
That's all right, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tom always does a great book. So and this guy, he's a machine. So he always fulfills. Then we have my regular co-host, excuse me. This is from JD Rosario. He has a toy coming out, Shield of the Interceptor. Currently, he has 48 days to go. It's about $2,200 there. He has a long way to go, but listen, I mean, I think it's a cool looking figure.
I figured that's nice.
So if you like action figures, I would say go check it out. Trying to make his mark on indie superheroes. But he's not here because he was at New York Comic Con all weekend, so I'm sure he's exhausted.
Yeah, he's probably laid out on the curb somewhere.
Probably.
He's gonna get son of a bitch.
It was probably his wife that knocked him out too. Then the last one, I will just show this off. And this is my upcoming campaign for When Tender Souls Mourn, issues 1 through 4, where a young Elphys finds herself on Oswald's Mall, and she's in trouble. And Oswald brings her in, despite the fact all of his friends say, don't do it. She's trouble. And he ends up having a situation, and his friends end up having to solve it for him. But this is issues 1 through 4. This will hopefully get launched 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks, probably in 3 weeks. So there you go. And that's still in the sign-up stages. So.
Oh, I need you to pay attention here.
All right, Rob, you're up.
All right. So question-wise, right? This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Here, Michael asks Steve.
Thank you, Michael.
But he asked a question here.
If it comes out clean, it's good. It's not put in for another minute and a half or so.
Adrian, probably not. Probably not a 10-year-old. A little older.
All right, cool. Well, he blocked everybody's campaigns, so thank you, Michael. See?
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I sent him a note because I saw there was a comment of wondering if it was okay for, I didn't know who he was talking to for 10 and above, but yeah, Boston Metaphysical is fine for ages 10 and above.
There you go.
Yeah, he just said in the comment.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I've had 8-year-olds, summarize whole chapters for me.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
All right, Rob, you're up, sir. What's your question?
All right. I wrote 3. Let's see. Which one should I ask first? If we gave him
good one. The good one.
The good one. All right.
The most controversial one you got. There you go.
The most controversial. All right, so this one's kind of a two-parter, but it mostly focuses on the second half. So, what does next level look like for you, and how are you trying to get there?
All right, fair enough. Madeleine, you're in the hot seat. You're up.
I didn't know there'd be questions, but okay. Since I came late, next level will for me is expanding my Queen of Mercia brand, and because that's my overall company name, and launching a new series that's completely different from Boston Metaphysical. I'm outlining it now. I've already talked to an artist who I want to come on board, and he seems pretty happy about it. And we'll go from there.
All right, cool. Steve, what are your thoughts?
For us, it would be continuing Atrium, expanding that world a little bit more, exploring some of the characters that are there. And then we also have some other IPs that we'd love to get out through Comics Asylum Publishing, including one called Chronocari Alpha, which is about two kids that are born at exactly the same time. And when they collide in gym class, they unlock their ability to control time. So I did that as a novella back in 2014. I did it through KDP. And I already have probably about 80 to about 85 out of the 110 pages already drawn. And so that'll be the next one that I'll be working on. And hopefully we'll get that out in the next maybe year or so.
All right, cool. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've been kind of going about it already. So I think this year's definitely been a little bit of like a reflection for me, as I felt like for a while, maybe I was going in directions that I didn't necessarily not want to go, but like I was being pulled rather than pushing it and leading in charge. And I sort of had to reassess what I wanted out of comics and what I wanted Odyssey to do compared to what I was seeing. Actually, I got to thank Kevin Eastman for that. I didn't talk to him or anything. I just saw his booth at a con and thought to myself, yeah, I never want to do that. I never want that many people. So to me, it's like really about finding the right creators, finding the right projects, and not just making it, but being able to give them the time and attention to like really sing. So what you see with what we just came up with, those Slight Return, those are the sort of projects that you're going to be seeing, coming out of Odyssey. So it's going to be a little bit different than sort of standard, indie stuff that we've been doing or you've been seeing from some other places. They might come in weird formats and stuff like that, but it's just like I'm just trying to do cool stuff with cool people. And I'm not worried so much about how does it fit in with the Odyssey catalog and how do we market this and everything like that. It's like just make something awesome. I'll figure out how to sell it to people. That'll come down the road. But really let the quality of the projects like stand out for themselves. So I think over the course of time, we're adding more all ages book. I just announced one last week. Like I said, we're adding a lot of creators. I think we probably have one of the strongest rosters of talents that you'll come across in indie comics. I'm trying to keep everybody as busy as possible. A lot of projects are getting worked on, rolled out, and developing some things in-house and starting them from the ground up too. So for me, that's what it really looks like, is not just publishing, but publishing at the level to where, we're being a little bit less of a publisher and more of just like this overarching like production house really, that people are bringing cool projects into. And, it's not just churn and burn. It's like, okay, work with one team. Okay, let's start finding the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. So you're going to start seeing, as I come on the show more and we roll out more stuff, this really steady, like consistent, high level, high quality stuff coming out. And I think that's going to be the game plan for us going into 2025.
Cool. For myself, for me, it's simple. It's moving 2 steps. It's one, moving into color, because most of the Oswald stuff's in black and white. So we're moving all that stuff into color. And then it's moving it into direct market. So it's step 1, and then that'll be the next step. So pretty simple, and then just keeping the train moving. That's it,
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for myself, it's similar. So I need to finish the 12-story arc for Nightwolf, and I think at that point I could. That gives me basically a year of direct market material. So I think once I get to issue 12, I can either decide whether I want to put it out there myself and do all that busy work, or approach another well-established indie publisher who has connections already. So I guess it's, whether I want to network out or try and put all that on me.
Drive yourself insane.
Yeah, I do that enough, right? Why not keep going?
Exactly.
Network out, Rob. Just do it. I need to listen to my own advice in that regard.
I know, right? Yeah, no, I kind of have an idea, but it depends again. At that point, once issue 12 has been published and I'm ready to do it, it's going to be where I'm at in those connections, I guess, at the time.
Yeah, I have an idea of what I want to do. It's just, for me, it's always contracts. It's always contracts. Whatever that contract says, if it has some weird wording in it, that's when I start, red flags go up, and I'm just like, oh no.
That goes to the lawyer. Have it checked out.
Yeah. No, that'll eventually go to that, but I have a black Sharpie that's quite effective.
He's like, click.
I'm like, yeah, this gotta go. Oh yeah, black Sharpie. Let me tell you. All right, cool. All right, so I guess I'll ask another question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received that relates, to indie comic publishing? And if you don't mind explaining it, right? So, like, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received in indie comics, or for indie comics? Steve, you're up.
I got to give props to Carl Kershaw, who does Death Transit Tanager, and we backed his campaign, and we were at the beginning of our journey trying to figure out like how are we going to get these books to people. And when it comes to shipping, that is like that's an ugly monster sometimes. So I just sent him an email, and he was really kind in responding, and gave us some great advice on like which carriers to go with and who works best in the US and who works best in Canada. I think he's based in Montreal and we're here in Toronto. So that was some invaluable advice that we got, because it saved us a lot of headaches for sure.
All right, very good. Madeleine, what are your thoughts?
I started this journey quite a while ago, and I had several excellent mentors, and gave me so much advice of which I can't even begin to pinpoint. But I think the best is, review get a good lawyer and review your contracts.
Okay. Good. All right, cool. Rob, what are your thoughts?
I always end up pointing back to Tyler James. A lot of the things I've learned from him, especially the building the audience and the email list thing, I've had before I really started utilizing my email list. I had it, I had a few people on it, but I never did anything with it. So I think once I started learning, how to utilize an email list, what to do, and then kind of building that audience, that really made the difference when I came back to Kickstarter. Because starting out obviously didn't work out for the first time, and then going to cons, I was going and selling the books there, but I wasn't collecting any emails at the time. So that was probably a year or two of cons that I didn't have emails. That now I'm like, oh, now I have to go back to these cons, get the emails. So definitely start your email list early, build it, utilize it. Don't just let it sit there. That's definitely a big thing for, especially if you're new and you're starting into this.
Yeah, Tyler always has great advice.
Yeah. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, this is actually a tough one to answer because from the very onset, I've gone to so many different people to try to get any sort of game knowledge inside baseball from one thing to another, and it's from legendary creators to people who are on the same level as me, or even people who are even newer than me. I don't look at anyone differently based on their experience level, because everyone has a different perspective or maybe something they found out that you can learn from. But I know earlier this year, I was in Seattle for Emerald City Comic Con. I got the opportunity to hang out with Jim Zub and a bunch of other folks for the night, and just wealth of knowledge and information. I think we were already starting a lot of processes, but I really got a solid thing in mind for how I want to approach publishing comics and what we're doing. So a lot of stuff that we're starting to see now is when it's starting to hit is kind of the byproduct of what's been coming out from that. So this sort of renewed direction and different vibe and different look to things that we're doing is from really zoning in on what I'm in touch with as a creator. And I think that was one of the things that he did say to me is that if you know comics and you've been reading it and doing things and you go and create it, you know in your head what you want to do. It's all the other things, the doubt and the logistics and stuff, but your first instincts are typically the right ones to go with. So I'm just going back to what I originally had in mind. I always had a certain vision for the stuff that I want to do, and now that's the stuff we're creating. And that's man, when you get into the slog of doing things, you're doing all these Kickstarters and making all these books and things. It's like just being proud of what you're putting out and also energized by it. Like I'm like everybody else. I see pages coming back and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to read like what we're putting out, and that changes the game for you.
All right, cool. For myself, working with one of my old editors.
Okay.
And he told me, he was like, suck less.
I think Madeleine froze.
Madeleine froze.
Yeah. But what he meant by that was because he had gotten that from a prior editor that he worked with. And his editor, what he meant basically was, he says, try to improve every single time out, right? So I've said it before. It's like, I'm trying to be a better writer today than I was yesterday, so on and so forth. And tomorrow I'm going to try to be a better writer than I am today. So that's what he meant by it. But he was a New York editor, so his words were suck less. So
very New York.
And he was an old school, New York editor. I mean, this is guys that worked in the 70s, so a little bit, rougher on the edges. I think Madeleine, granted, that came out on her. It was one of those things, and it was, it was harsh at the moment, right? And it took a while. It took me 2 weeks to process it, and then before I even came back and said, "What did you actually mean before I punch you?" And I was just like, and then he explained to me, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." And and like I said, this is coming from someone I respect deeply, my friend Steve, and this came from his boss, who was his mentor, and this is a guy named Howard Zimmerman. He used to be the editor-in-chief of Starlog magazine. Mm-hmm. He's interviewed Isaac Asimov. I've heard some interesting stories about that. When he interviewed the guy, and he's like, he had 7 typewriters in his living room, and each typewriter had a different story on it. So when he would get bored, he would just jump on a different typewriter, start typing. So insane.
Man, talk about before computers. That's
right.
It's actually insane.
And then look at this joker. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. You know what? Okay. I mean, all right. So, Marcus, you're up. Ask a question.
Oh, damn. I got to come up with another one, too.
It happens sometimes.
That's what happens when we have a short panel.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
Yeah, my internet's decided to be unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
It's been a night of that, unfortunately, for the show.
Look, first he's asking for an invite, and now he's telling me he's driving. Look at this.
Make up your mind, kiddo.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think for me it's going to be kind of sort of touching back on what I was saying before, and sort of knowing the projects that you want to do. And I think it's tough for us sometimes because we are all indie creators and we have our own creations that we want to work with sometimes. But I think a lot about like who's out there in comics. If money was no issue and I could work with anyone, what other creators? They could be at the big 2, big 3, or they could be on the indie level too. What creators out there who are you really enjoying, who you would really love to work with in the future?
Nice. Madeline, what are your thoughts? Who would you want to work with if you had that unlimited cash?
I actually I'm already doing it. I'm wrote a story for Lady Mechanica with Joe Benitez and Marcia Chen, and he's I think he's on the art on issue 2, so you'll probably see a Kickstarter next year. So that's a lot of fun, and other people's sound. I've done you just lost me again.
You're kind of cutting in and out, but yeah.
You're doing Mr.
I just lost you.
We can hear you though.
Yeah, partially.
I think we lost her there.
And she's gone.
Again.
It's a computer virus. You got Tom first now.
Yeah, okay. I think they use the same provider.
Yeah.
Almost. Wait.
Now you're back.
There you go. Now we can. Okay. I got the spinning circle of doom. Did you guys look at that?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
She's buffering.
Well, as she fights to return, Steve,
Like my HBO Max service down there.
Well, that's a great question, man. The that list is long for me because I've grown up reading comics my entire life. So there's a bunch of old OGs as well as some new school guys and gals that I wouldn't mind working with. That's a hard question. I've really been lucky already.
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty faced. I was like, I know it's going to be tough to answer this.
Yeah, I've been lucky already working with Marco Rudy, working with Nikos and with Mike on the colors. We've had some really good input from some people in the biz when they were looking at Atrium as well too. And so it's kind of like one of those things where I can't really answer that question right now because it would kind of depend on what project it would be. I can name a whole bunch of artists that I love and writers that I love.
Okay, if you had to put out a sci-fi superhero book right now.
If I were to do a superhero book right now, I would just love to draw a Spider-Man book just because I'm a Spider-Man guy. And not because I have a big head, but I'd love to write it and draw it because he's my favorite hero. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Madeline, if you want to finish.
Yeah. Lady Mechanica before I get dropped out again by my internet. It's been a great ride. It's taken longer than anyone thought it would. Because they hired me actually a couple of years ago, and it's just taken a while to get the art done, and of course life intervenes. But yeah, the working title is The Secret Garden. I know Joe has changed it, which is good because it's Joe's. But yeah, as I was saying, I do love to play in other people's sandboxes, mainly because I get to write the story and then I can hand it over to you and say, you deal with production. I don't have to. That's always fun.
Which I was very honored to have a 4-page short from you for my first volume.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and it gets me out of the Boston metaphysical headspace, and I get to go create other fun things. So I always enjoy that.
Cool. Rob?
So I'm going pie in the sky dreams on this one. Like if money wasn't an issue or whatever, especially considering he's never even finished his own series. I would love to have Joe Mad do the art for a book for me, or for at least a mini series. But of course, getting him out of retirement and actually finish something, probably I'd imagine have to be some pretty chunk of change. But yeah, I would absolutely love to have him. In particular, there's a book, a title that I have, Crimson Dawn. I think he would crush it, absolutely crush it.
Cool. I got 2 names. One of them is obvious. That's Arthur Adams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Jerome Opina. Where if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you don't know. But Jerome is an incredible artist. So either one of those two guys, I would definitely want to have, illustrate a book for me. And here's the thing, I know they're so expensive, I wouldn't even approach him. I'm like, there's no reason to be like, I already know I'm gonna be disappointed. So like, why even ask?
Just ask. You never know what can happen.
Oh yeah, I know what's gonna happen. Oh yeah, 10K. And I'll be like, thank you. It was nice talking to you. Can I buy this print? So yeah.
Yeah, 10K.
Yeah. But Arthur Adams, very nice guy. I met him a few times. Very, very nice guy. I've never met Jerome, but I'm sure he's a cool dude too. So Marcus, who would you want to work with?
There's a couple of things. I'm in the same boat as Steve. It's hard for me to even answer my own question because it's really going to be like specific to what story that I'm talking about. If I'm thinking just my things, especially stuff that I got on the back burner that I'm looking to put out. It's straight up pipe dream pie, and it's not even pie in the sky. It's like, I don't know. It's in space. It's in a whole other galaxy. Would be working with David Mazzucchelli, who did Born Again, and did it's crazy because you look back at what he did with that and Batman Year One and everything. Like he's like 26 years old when he like that stuff.
Yeah,
which is just crazy. He just came out and he's like, I'm a ghost at 26. And then just fucks off. He like does his own stuff in his own.
One of them dudes, man. Just one of them dudes.
And he's chucked up the deuces and walked out with his trophy. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wouldn't be impossible. I think a great modern approximation for him is Chris Samney, who's doing Batman and Robin Year One with Mark Waid right now. I love his stuff. If him and Mark Waid go on a book, I buy it. It's like, I don't care what it's about. I don't care what character's in it. But if it is Batman or something like that, or Captain America, all the better. Like, I'll pick it up. So yeah, I have this one like espionage spy thriller, spy comedy thriller that I think I would love for him to do. The another one is who's not really so pie in the sky because I've been circling around him and like buttering up a little bit is David Mack. Possibly like get some cover work for him. I think he's game for it, but he's steep. He's pretty steep. I'm like, can you give me a good 40% indie discount? I think we could talk a little bit more seriously. But yeah, he's another one that I would love to work with in full because between him and Alex Maleev and everything that Bendis they did on those Daredevil runs, that was like those are one of the key things that get me regularly going to the comic shop and finally having like a pull list of my own to start with all those comics. So when I think about my fandom, I relate it to those creators I just brought up.
All right, cool. Rob, it's on you, sir.
Another question, eh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are Comic-Cons still worth it for indie creators considering the rise in costs every year?
Interesting.
Good question.
Yeah. Steve, you're up.
That's a fantastic question. And I think it's something that any creator has to consider because you're juggling exposure versus cost and then ROI. We've got a big one here in Toronto, a couple of big ones. We have Fan Expo Canada, and then we have Toronto Comic Con in the spring. They're great shows, but they're hard to get into because the competition's pretty fierce. And then when you look at the cost, and then depending on what level of creator you are, you got to decide: are you going into it for promotional reasons, and to say I'm going to get my brand and my book out there, or are you looking in some cases to actually make a profit out of it? What we've discovered is that doing a mixture of them is great. Doing some of the smaller shows really works to our benefit. And then we also do a lot of in-store signings at comic book stores. So we just hit up comic book stores, say, hey, do you have a free weekend? We'll come set up shop in a corner. We'll promote it. And then, we'll give them some issues and, interact with the audience there. And what we've found is that in a lot of cases, the smaller shows or one-day comic book expo kind of type shows that are around the city or in the region are just as profitable as going through 3 days of a big con, just because you're there with a targeted audience.
Yep. Cool. Madeleine, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I could talk about this for a while. I do a lot of cons. I used to do about 20 a year. I don't do that anymore. Haven't for a while. Cons are not what they used to be as far as money makers, and which is unfortunate. So at this stage, it's really about picking and choosing where you need to be, and just like Steve said, doing some local stuff like Comic-Con Revolution, which is over in Ontario. I did that last year. You know, I could drive there, go home. Expense is very low. Same thing with Hellmouth, which is a whole Buffy thing, but it's at Torrance High School, and you know, it's a very cheap table. Once again, expenses are low. I mean, I make more profit at those than I do at larger shows now, which is like the reverse of what it used to be 6-7 years ago. But you do have to have a certain presence, and like I still have to do WonderCon, I still have to do San Diego, because you know, at a certain level you need to be at certain shows and try to get in certain shows. I myself try to do a couple of flying trips, no more than 2 a year now, and just to get outside. I try to do Midwest or East Coast. I'm actually doing Grand Rapids in about 4 weeks, and Source Point is there. They're my publisher, and I have no idea if I break even, I'm going to be happy, because it's a networking. It's getting out there. I know I have fans there I have never met before, and that'll be great. And then make sure I get them on that email list. And hopefully that will pay off at a later time on a Kickstarter. But yeah, I think it's really about picking and choosing now.
Gotcha. Mr. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat as everyone, especially like these are also the pains that comes with growing sometimes, right? Because now it's like local cons, of course, are easy enough. Like, you know, Malin mentioned like Ontario, okay, that's the next town over to me. So
yeah,
the tables are affordable. I drive home every day. Hell, I could come home for lunch if I really wanted to, and then go back to the con. So it's economical. Then it's always a pretty good reception too, because you have a fan base who, you know, doesn't really have a whole lot going on here all the time. So they're very eager, very excited to, you know, engage with people and you know, pick up some books from you too. Then you have the big cons, which, yeah, again, I've had that same experience, are tough because they're a higher price of entry, and your ability to cover those expenses becomes, you know, exponentially more difficult too. So maybe in the past, that was a weird thing too. I did a couple of big cons back when we had 3-4 books, and, you know, did great, but that was with 3 or 4 books. Now it's like, what, we're about to be like 15 titles in now. So for me, just to get inventory to a convention that I have to fly to is an expense.
Oh, yeah.
To cart it around is an expense. To, you know, get everything boxed up, and, you know, all the big, you know, banners and everything like that, they're all expenses. So, you know, you're talking about shows like that where I got to start being able to, you know, clear like $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 justify the expenses of it. And I hate looking at cons in like that sort of, you know, monetary level, because, you know, there's the money making aspect, and then there's the marketing aspect too. I'm very like obsessive over my little marketing map. I know where all my key zones. I know California, of course, is locked down. This is where I am right now, and I know the areas I haven't gone to enough because they're not flagging for me when I'm doing Kickstarters and shipping, and I can look out all the details, see, okay, where's my top audiences at, and where I can, you know, go and do things. So I'll probably try to do something like Dragon Con next year, something like that. I need to get out in the South like a little bit more. I haven't done it yet. But also trying to be a little bit strategic. So typically Midwest works for me because, you know, our team members are scattered out. I got Aaron down in Tennessee. I got Steve up in Minnesota. I got, you know, other friends out in New York. If I could actually get everybody together at like a central location, that's good for me too, because we don't get to see each other all that often and be reminded, hey, we are all in this together. We all are making comic books together. It's good to see the people that you work with directly a lot more. But yeah, it's a two-pronged thing. Whereas like if I'm just looking to get rid of some inventory, the smaller local cons are great because I could go there and you make pretty good return just selling books to people who, in a lot of cases, they're already familiar with me. They say, hey, Marcus, what you got? They just come to, I don't even pitch anything. I just set up shop and they say, hey, what's new? This, and they buy it. And, I talk, of course, but like, I don't have to sell. I don't have to do all that. And that makes the con experience a lot easier going. So we'll see. I'm still trying to work up the nerve for San Diego Comic Con. I did WonderCon this year too for the first time. So yeah, it's just working out a strategy, maybe doing, one big con for the big promotional push, but really in terms of staying engaged with people. And like Madeleine said, you kind of have to be a presence at a certain level, where you can get out and see people doing those conventions. But it's really something that I think a lot of people will be a lot more judicious with, especially with, you're kind of like us and you got, something of an audience at Kickstarter or something. It's like, are you going to invest $1,200, $2,000 to do a con sometimes when you could put that into a Kickstarter and imagine where that could get you in return? So, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into when you do each one. If it's not worth it for you personally, then that's the answer for you. It could be a different answer for somebody else, but for you, you got to know what's best for you.
All right. No. Like I said, I mean, Daphne, we've been doing it since '92. I mean, there were years where Daphne and I would do 2 to 3 conventions a month. There were some months we did 4. Wow. And we did that for years. And then Kickstarter arrived and we were doing a mix for a while. And then, we were just like, oh, we can just sit at home in our PJs and just do this and not have to leave the house. So, that kind of became a thing. But one of the things, being in New York City, we obviously have New York Comic Con. It is a bit expensive just to get in there. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jay, next week he'll tell us, I think he spent like $1,900 on that booth. And, he had a corner, but, it's $1,900. The only thing that's good for him is that he's local. So he's traveling back and forth. He doesn't have to pay for any hoteling or anything. A regular table, I think, is about $1,200-$1,400. Again, it's expensive because you still got to get in there. Mm-hmm. You have to make up whatever you spent on that table, plus the cost of what you just sold, which I think is something a lot of people don't factor into their cost.
Your inventory has a value.
Exactly. Yeah. Your inventory has a value, right? So you could just as easily have added on another $1,000 onto that table by just selling the inventory. Then you got to make up for that as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing a smaller show next month, and the thing is we have a lot of tiny shows. We have a lot of high school shows, a lot of shows all over the place. There's really small, and a lot of them, like I'm doing a library show. They just called me up and they were like, oh, do you want to be at this show? And I was like, well, how much is it? And they were like, oh, it's for free. You just come over and just park in there. It's like, okay, so we're going to try that out. And we have dozens of those. So it's something that we're starting to look into, where maybe we're going to start doing a lot of smaller shows and move into that direction. But we've done a lot of big shows. And I mean, we did San Diego, Daphne and I, for good 8 or 9 years running. And it was fun. It was great. We made money, but the amount of money we made in comparison to what we spent was about even. So,
yeah, you broke even.
Right. We would break even. And the thing is we were getting our airplane tickets for free on top of that because we used Sky Miles. Okay. So, I mean, and we were staying in a hotel room, and we would always have friends that would come with us. And there was one year, I think there was 9 of us in a room, and it was still $300 a person, so it was ridiculous. So it gets crazy. So it depends on what you're doing, what you're willing to do, and how you're willing to do it. But yeah, I mean, is there ROI in it? I think there is. you know, especially at a place like San Diego, where there's other opportunities out there that I think can be sought out. You know, I think I blew one. I had someone look at the Oswald Chronicles and ask me like what that was, and I kind of blew them off because I had we were there 2 days late because of a plane flight, and I was just like mad out of my mind, and I was just like, and I didn't really talk to this person the way I should have, and I just But there are opportunities and different types of opportunities, not just comics. So I think it is sometimes important to show up at a place like San Diego. New York is good because it's just a lot of people, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a mass of humanity. I mean, like a lot of people roll through that show. I'm pretty sure they're up to either 250,000 or 300,000 people. You know, it's just a lot of folks rolling through there. And it's not.
You think about the comic show, like comic shops and doing things like that too.
Right. Yeah. And like I said,
library shows are great. And Marcus, you should go look into Anacon at Anaheim Central Library if you haven't already.
Yeah, I should look into that. It's another thing I think about too is like a lot of people forget that cons used to be at comic book shops. That's actually something I want to get back to. Way back in the very, very early days when they first started, sometimes be in the basement of comic shop or still ran by the operators and stuff like that. And you know, I've been mulling over ideas to kind of take things back to there. Because those are missed opportunities, you know, sometimes too, or things creators don't often think about. Like I got a relationship with some local shops around here. I'll go for a free comic book day or something like that, and probably make, well, they're free to get into, so you don't spend any money. You just bring your stuff and show up, and then you come at a place where there's going to be a lot of people who are coming to spend money on comic books.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're the easiest people in the world to talk to your stuff about. So I'll do those, and I'll make, in terms of profit, you know, that's as much. I'll pull in 4 or 5 hours on a free comic book day and make as much as 2-3 conventions would get me, and go home at the end of the day and not have to spend a dime traveling or doing any of that stuff. So yeah, definitely leveraging, you know, good relationships with the comic book shops. And I know, you know, friend of the show who's on from time to time, Christy Shin. She does stuff with Caps and Asian Invasion, and they'll go set up, get multiple creators together doing the same thing. I was like, Christy, I love that idea. I'm going to steal it and do more of it. And those are just really fun things that you do that are cheap, they're low investment, and you know, they're great for bringing support into the shops too, and getting people to, you know, come check things out, and whatever you can do to sort of make bridges like that are going to be beneficial. So we always want to get our stuff out, but you know, there's always alternatives to doing the typical con, which, yeah, like we said, is just getting more and more expensive and cost prohibitive for a lot of people almost these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rob, what are your thoughts on your own question? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big shows in general, like the fan expos and Read Pop stuff, have definitely been kind of getting a little bit too expensive for what they're worth. People are dropping more on celebrities than they are, you know, like, and you ask somebody, you know, if they're interested in comics, like, I've never read a comic in my life. So I think that's a big issue when it comes to those size cons. I agree about getting into San Diego and New York as being at some point, you have to, like, I would love to do both of those, but feasibly right now I'm paying for 2 tables. You know, have you seen my setups, you know, I'm sure on Facebook. Yeah. So I need to learn to pare back down. But the problem with doing that is if I don't bring all my stuff, how am I going to make table? You know what I mean? Like, I have so much stuff. And I know that, like, the more I've had, the more money I'm making, right? So it's like, that's why I'm at 2 tables right now. But I think once I get the trades to a point where I have all 3 volumes of Nightwolf and, volume of Snowpaw, I think I'll be able then to pare back down. And then maybe but the other problem is I live on the complete opposite side of San Diego, right? So the other issue is, like, all right, well, how am I supposed to take, you know, boxes full of these things on a plane? And the shipping, you know, them would be like a nightmare. So yeah, the logistics thing for me, I haven't quite figured all that out yet. Because I'm my own publisher. So it's not like I have somebody waiting for me with my books. or like, even going into New York, I can drive to New York with all my stuff, but since they don't actually have a load in, screw that. I've been trying to get into C2E2 for years.
It's unionized.
Yeah. So, I think for me, I'm actually trying to look for comic centric cons that are basic, like Baltimore is probably the biggest comic centric, but I'm looking for anything that's more like, going to Akron Comic Con in a couple weeks. That's all comic centric, right? So that's people actually going to comic shops, who basically it's a comic shop who runs this, but in a bigger venue. So it's people who going, for comics. So that's what I'm kind of looking for now and seeing, how I can get into a lot more of those. Also trying to kind of go outside of the Comic-Con, but more into like horror cons or other kind of like types of cons that, like Madeleine was saying, you're the only one, they're selling comics. So that's kind of like where I'm looking to at this point, trying to make it a little bit more, diverse as far as like where I'm putting the money, and then it's not also like that's my entire, going to San Diego being my entire budget or New York being my entire budget, for my con year. So yeah, I mean, I think in general it's kind of also it's a yes and no. It's like I said, the bigger ones are starting to be no's, and if they're not comic centric or something more niche, then that's where I kind of want to be right now.
Yeah, I will say too, Rob, like as a publisher, when you're publishing and doing that, like going to the bigger cons, but as a professional, like I enjoy doing that 100 times more than like say at the big places, because you want to be there, you want to be engaging with people and everything.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes selling books isn't really like the move. So when I did Emerald City this year, that's what I did. I didn't go as setting up a booth or anything like that. I literally just went there, talk to creators, other publishers, shake hands, pass out business cards, see what's going on, see what the vibe is, and the
networking.
Doing all the networking and stuff like that. And it's great because you don't have any stress because you're not worried about being at your table or how much money you're pulling in or anything like that. You get to just be
this is just the write-off. We're done.
Exactly.
All right. We're done. We made it to hour 2. So thank you so much, everyone. This was awesome. You guys, all of you were great. So let's start with Steve. Please, Steve, where can they find you and your work?
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Well, thanks. You can find me at Steve Bynoe Art on Instagram, and you can also find Comics Asylum on Instagram at Comics Asylum, as well as on X, and also on YouTube. We also have a YouTube channel as well too.
All right, cool. Madeleine, where can they find you and your work?
BostonMetaphysicalSociety.com or QueenofMercia.com. They all end up in the same place. And of course, Twitter for I don't know how much longer. We'll see about that. Facebook, you just type in Boston Metaphysical and Google or the search engine of your choice, and I will pop up.
All right, cool. Mr. Multari, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Well, if you Google me, you'll probably find either me or my dad, so that's probably not a good way to go. So definitely at Lone Wolf Comics on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok. I'm basically, it's at Lone Wolf Comics on all those random platforms. Whether I'm there and doing stuff, that's another thing. I'm mostly on Facebook and a little bit of the other ones. But you can also find me at Rob Multari on all the, at least Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can find my books, lonewolfcomics.com. The short, quick URL to the campaign is nightwolf.lonewolfcomics.com. That'll take you to that very long and arduous URL that Kickstarter loves to put out for you.
Yeah. All right, cool. Marcus, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Go to odysseycomics.com and figure it out from there. I can't be bothered to make a link tree or anything like that.
Gotcha. All right, cool. You can find me on theoswaldchronicles.com, talltalesonline.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, all those different places. Here, Sunday nights, every other Tuesday night with Mr. Rob, right, Multari, where we try to help out independent comic book creators answer their questions to life's difficult questions, right? And yeah, and like I said, every Sunday night we're here. And please, everybody, remember, all these creators are fantastic. All of them are doing great work. Go check out those links in the show notes. I have everybody's links. Click on those links, order those books, buy those books. All these creators deserve your support. They're doing great work. So please go check them out and order yourself some books. And just remember, everybody, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
everyone.
JD.
Thanks.